This is the materials that we would use on an endo tray. First of all, we have our files, and you can see that our files are in this little sponge. This is normally how the doctor would have it, or you would hold it. On this side, you can see a ruler. This is called a thumb ruler. This is another kind of thumb rulers. So normally they would keep it on their thumb, and they'll be able to measure the files. This is the way the files look when they are in the package. Now these happen to be Headstrom files. Everybody uses different files, and actually nowadays everybody is using rotary files. But this is an example of the files. We don't have rotary instruments here at school, so this is just an example. But I've put a lot of videos on Moodle so that you can go back and actually watch an endo procedure. So also on our tray we have absorbent points. These are paper points. And they are actual paper. These are very thin paper points. And these come in different sizes. We also have gutta percha. Gutta percha is a rubber-like material. I can get it out of here. This is gutta percha. It is a different color than the paper points. Gutta percha is what fills up the canals after we do a root canal. It goes down inside the canals, and then remember the plugger that I showed you earlier on the tray gets shoved right next to that, and the top part of the gutta percha that sticks out of the tooth gets burnt off. That gutta percha is what actually fills up the canal. We also have sealer. This sealer is kind of greasy, and what we normally do with this, you would put it on a paper pad, goes on the file, and it slides up and down inside the file, inside the canal, to make it a little bit more slippery. Then we have Tubacil. Tubacil now comes in a 1-dose syringe where catalyst and base are mixed together. This happens to be 2. One is base, one is catalyst. We also have cotton balls. These cotton pellets come in different sizes, and that's what this box is. These cotton pellets that are in this box are huge. We would never use this size. Normally you would use about a 0, 00, 000. We also have an irrigating syringe. This irrigating syringe is for the sodium hypochlorite that goes into the canal for us to irrigate. And we do that to clean out the canal. And you can see that this needle on the irrigating syringe is very thick. So what you would do is fill up your cup with bleach and water. And it would be 1 part bleach, the rest of it would be water. Some people do 50-50. Normally it's 1 part bleach, 1 part water. You pull up on the plunger, it puts all your sodium hypochlorite in here, and then you put your needle on. And obviously we will be suctioning during all of this. This little handy thing is for our root ZX. So this gets put on to the file like this. The file then goes, this gets connected to the root ZX machine. This goes down inside the canal, and it will start beeping, and it tells the doctor how close they are to the apex. Because remember, we don't want to go past the apex, otherwise we would perforate it. And this little hook actually gets hooked on the patient's cheek, and that is just a reactor for the root CX. Almost every office uses a root CX. We also have Cabot. This is just something that we might use for temporary material until we can have a crown done. And then we have our old snap array. Now you may use a hemostat or you may use the snap array, and that is to take an x-ray. Obviously, if you're using the snap array on the digital sensor, it would have a little divot in here so that the sensor would fit on it. This is our torch, and this is filled with butane, kind of like a lighter would be. And you would press this button and fire would come out of here. We would heat our plugger, put that down inside the canal, and it would burn off the gutta percha. We also have endo ice. Endo ice is something that we use to test to see if the tooth is going to react to something cold. So this is like dry ice. And what you do is put it on a cotton tip applicator, spray it on. They have vanilla or mint flavors. You put it on the tooth and see how long it takes for the patient to respond. If it takes longer than a couple seconds for the patient to respond, we know the tooth is dead. If right away the tooth responds to it, we know the tooth is still alive, and we're going to then remove all of the nerves from the canals. This is everything that we use for rubber dam. And I know my Tuesday, Thursday class, you've already used rubber dam, but this is what we use for rubber dam. This is the dam punch. You would take your rubber dam, put the punch in about the middle of it, and then you would have a hole like this. And then this is our clamp, and our clamp is for our clamps that will go on the tooth. I'm going to open one of these so you could see. This is actually a molar clamp. But you can see on this one, this is an interior clamp or a butterfly clamp. Clamps come in all different sizes. And then this is our frame that holds our rubber dam on. Okay? Also, we have floss. And the floss actually gets wrapped around our clamp. And this is called a ligature tie. So what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to make sure that this does not fall into the patient's mouth. So we're going to tie our piece of floss on it. This is going to get clamped on our tooth, and if we had to retrieve this, we could just pull this from the patient's mouth so they don't swallow it. We don't need any accidents when it comes to endo. And these are most of the things that you would need. You would need these things when we're in school, when you get to an office. Like I said, we have a lot of electronic devices that we use. Besides the apex locator, we also have rotary files. We also have, instead of using this torch, we also have heaters. And the heaters, the gutta percha goes into it, and you would pick it up with your locking pliers, and then that would be put into the canal. And this is the materials for a root canal.